Donald Trump's bombastic pick to run the FBI
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big.
already has some controversial ideas for overhauling the Bureau.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops.
In choosing Kash Patel to lead the law enforcement agency, Trump picked a loyal firebrand who has vowed to take on the so-called deep state, which Patel claims is made of journalists, big tech, elected leaders, and senior government bureaucrats.
And our biggest enemy against that truth is the deep state. And we are on a mission to annihilate the deep state.
He's also shown a taste for retribution, including over false claims of 2020 election fraud.
We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out.
He's been a public defender and a federal prosecutor in the Justice Department's National Security Division. During the first Trump term, he worked on the National Security Council and then as chief of staff to the acting defense secretary.
We're blessed by God to have Donald Trump be our juggernaut of justice, to be our leader, to be our continued warrior in the arena.
Patel defended Trump against the charges he faced in the now dropped classified documents case.
They can take what they want. You can't be prosecuted for possessing classified documents.
And while he's claimed violent offenders from January 6 deserve punishment, he's defended others charged in relation to the riot at the U.S. Capitol.
Their lives have been destroyed by the Justice Department because of a political vendetta they want to enact through the justice system to take out Trump.
As for his other endeavors, Patel has a line of apparel as brash as its creator, with items featuring his signature KA$H. He also penned a children's trilogy, apparently dedicated to Trump, the, quote, king of the series. The most recent installment describes the tale of the, quote, MAGA king and his journey to, quote, take down Kamala and reclaim his throne. Patel's book for adults, Government Gangsters, now his rallying cry for reform.
I am going to go on a government gangsters manhunt in Washington, D.C. for our great president. Who's coming with me?
Now, Kash Patel is a controversial pick for this job for a lot of reasons. One, I mean, we already have an FBI director, Christopher Wray, who serves a 10-year term that's designed to take politics out of the equation. So Trump is either going to have to fire Wray or Wray is going to have to quit. But Patel is also controversial even among Trump's inner circle. A lot of people kind of see him as this sort of relentless self-promoter. He really pushed himself for a role in this administration, but ultimately he was successful. Donald Trump has been very clear that he wants people who are fiercely loyal to him, especially in this roles at the FBI, the Justice Department, and in intelligence. And Kash Patel certainly fits that bill, Jake.
All right, Sarah Murray, thanks so much. Let's talk about this with Josh Campbell, who's a CNN security analyst, and Elena Plott-Calabro, a staff writer for The Atlantic, who has covered Kash Patel extensively. So, Josh, I want to play some sound from North Carolina Governor-elect Josh Stein talking about Kash Patel. Take a listen.
Well, I want somebody who respects the rule of law, and his nomination for the FBI does not give me confidence that that's a top priority.
So we hear a lot of Democrats and even some Republicans echoing that skepticism. What do you think the Patel appointment would mean for the FBI? Could he impact how the Bureau presses investigations?
Yeah, the director has great oversight and power as it relates to investigations. And first, I've been talking with sources inside the FBI, many different people, and a lot of them wanted to dispel this myth that some other networks have apparently been reporting, and that's, FBI agents are scared or afraid. I mean, these are dogged people that put their heads down, they do their work. But what I am hearing is there is grave concern in two respects. The first that you just mentioned there, potential impact on investigations. In this case, someone like Patel, who, as Sarah reported, an extreme Trump political loyalist. Would he try to get FBI employees to investigate Trump's opponents? Would he try to stop any investigations that begin within Trump's orbit? That is a major question. And then second, it comes down to independence. Historically, there has been this at distance that a White House would keep the FBI because this is a powerful law enforcement agency. People may not realize that the FBI doesn't brief the White House on every investigation that it conducts. And that's because a lot of times they could be investigating political opponents opponents or political loyalists of a president. The big question here is, what will that independence look like? How would that be impacted? And then finally, I just wanted to read one line from this great, insightful piece that Elena wrote recently on Patel. What she said in talking to sources around Trump world is that people called Patel dangerous, not because he would come in on day one as FBI director or CI director with a plan, but because he appeared to have no plan at all. His priorities today always subject to a mercurial president's wishes tomorrow. That's the big question. How far would he go for Trump?
And Elena, as Sarah noted in her piece, Kash Patel wrote a book called Government Gangsters, and it's bouncing around the internet today. Tim Miller from Bulwark among the people who noticed that in that book, it lists individuals that Patel considers the quote-unquote deep state. People on the deep state list include President Biden, former Attorney General for Donald Trump, Bill Barr, Attorney General Garland, Robert Mueller, what Patel calls the, quote, entire fake news press corps, unquote. What is he going to do with this list, or is this just bombast?
I don't think that we are in a position to call anything to do with Kash Patel at this point just bombast, especially if he does end up getting this directorship. And if he doesn't, Jake, I very much suspect that Trump will find a way to install him, whether in an acting capacity or in a role that does not require Senate confirmation at the top of the American intelligence apparatus. And the reason I say that is because while the public doesn't quite know who Kash Patel is, the fact was that in Trump's first term, he came dangerously close to almost this very role. Trump really wanted to promote him at one point to deputy FBI director. Then there was deputy CIA director. I mean, various senior positions that were it not for people like CIA Director Gina Haspel or Attorney General Bill Barr, who the latter, of course, said over my dead body to the idea of Kash being promoted to deputy FBI director. Without people like that in this administration, and Trump has made clear he has no desire to install the quote unquote guardrails that populated his first administration, I don't think there's any doubt that whether it's as FBI director or some other highly powerful position, Kash Patel, we will see him try to use whatever means he has to launch, or at least try to launch, investigations into many of the people that are listed in that appendix of his book.
And you wrote over the summer, quote, should he return to the White House, there will be no Millies, Haspels, or even Barrs to restrain him as he seeks revenge against his political enemies. You're talking about Donald Trump there. Instead, there will be Patels, those whose true faith and allegiance belong not to a nation, but to one man. So let's just assume for the sake of argument that he does a recess appointment of Kash Patel, or somehow he gets through the Senate. I mean, Republicans control 53 seats in the Senate right now, so who knows? Would there be any check on Patel? Would Attorney General Pam Bondi do anything?
I can't predict that, Jake. I think especially with a role like the FBI, which, as Josh knows better than anyone, has just historically been entirely detached from partisan politics in this country. I think we really are entering uncharted territory with respect to not only what Kash Patel would do atop the FBI, but also what would it look like in terms of, if there are people who, whether it's in the GSA, if he is insistent on closing down the Herbert Hoover building and creating it as a museum to the deep state, as he has said he's going to do, J. Edgar Hoover, excuse me. I don't know what that looks like, and from GSA or other senior officials. What can they actually exercise in a Trump administration to curb perhaps some of the more extreme impulses of officials or would-be officials like Kash Patel.
Elena, Josh, thanks to both of you. Appreciate it.